Hey everyone, it's David Markland with Midsummer Scream here. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm the executive director of the event, which isn't happening this year. Instead, on Saturday, we're going to be doing a live stream telethon. Please tune in for that. But tonight, I'm really excited to present Black Halloween, a panel discussing diversity in Halloween events from haunted attraction to horror immersive experiences. Moderating tonight's panel is RJ Temple, a themed entertainment professional who started the Creative Quest Foundation, which celebrates the power of diversity in the world of themed entertainment. Here he is. RJ, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing, Dave? It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm doing great.
Yes, thank you.
So let's dive right in and tell me about Creative Quest Foundation. Give me the elevator pitch and why you started it.
Of course, yeah. Creative Quest Foundation is found under the UpBeat Imagination Workshop. That's my company. Is one of the few African-American owned themed entertainment companies in the nation. Creative Quest, they focus on minorities that are pursuing careers in themed entertainment, whether it be illustration, theme parks, film, whatever. And it actually gives them an opportunity to have an opportunity to grow and have diversity and inclusion opportunities. And what's neat too is that with Creative Quest, we focus on the issues at hand. There's a lot of situations where there are people that are, especially minorities, that have opportunities to show what their creativity is and show what they can contribute to the industry. And so at Creative Quest, what we do is we give them an opportunity for them to learn through workshops, through networking opportunities, and also be able to be a place where they can learn about the importance of diversity and inclusion, and major companies as well. Because the thing is, racial discrimination and bias has just molded the entertainment industry over the years. And so what we want to do is we want to be an answer to a lot of the issues that this industry faces. So it's really a privilege to be here with you, Dave, and especially with horror genre. I love horror. I got my swag on from Killer Clowns. We love horror. We love stories here at Creative Quest Foundation. So it's a privilege to be here, and it's a privilege to be on your side.
You sent me some videos. Do you want me to run one of them that you put together?
Yeah, definitely. And what you'll do is we'll do the actual brief where you get to see our initiative and what we stand for. So check out our whole clip from my friend Nick that's going to talk more about Creative Quest.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Nick, and thanks for tuning in to CQF TV. The Creative Quest Foundation focuses on minorities pursuing a career in themed entertainment. From writing shows for a local theater to developing the next major attraction for a cutting-edge theme park, CQF provides resources and opportunities to build your passion for creative development and the arts. Diversity and inclusion is the future of the industry. Taking action to diversify talent in the creative space and empowering leaders will take themed entertainment to the next level. CQF believes in community and sharing knowledge to those who come from all walks of life. We provide educational events and activities such as mixers, workshops, speed networking sessions, artist showcases, concerts, and more. We move together as a family to bring about positive change and promote equal opportunity for everyone with a love for the arts. Join our initiative celebrating the power of diversity in the world of themed entertainment. Check out the latest news, media, merch, and more on our website, creativequestfoundation.com.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I think we should get into the panel, but I have to do a plug, a gift shop plug real quick.
Of
course. We made these shirts for the telethon on Saturday. See if we can get the camera right. And on the back, it says Midsummer Scream and Creative Quest Foundation.
Yes.
And if you go and if you buy one of these shirts right now, $5 of each shirt sale goes to RJ and his team to keep doing this really good work that they're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's going to really make a difference and help us create workshop opportunities, especially with COVID. We want to make sure we have as many virtual options as possible. And so with your contribution, you're going to help us be able to make that happen for plenty of people that are creatives that are excited about doing great things in the world. So thank you so much, Dave and team.
Oh, for sure.
For doing this. Thank you.
Well, I think it's all about you now. Let's, you ready to do this thing?
Yeah, of course. Let's do it, man.
All right, let's throw up a fancy graphic. Here we go.
All right, guys. So thank you so much, Midsummer Scream. Make some noise. Thank you so much for coming out to this amazing event. We're going to talk about Black Halloween. This is truly an important topic that we're going to talk about, especially with me having a background in themed entertainment, creating amazing experiences, all over the globe. This is really a awesome opportunity because I'm a fan of horror. I love stories, and this panel is gonna dive even deeper into what is it like as a person of color pursuing careers in horror. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring out an amazing panel tonight. First up, we have Michelle Halloween. And Michelle Halloween is a Halloween horror blogger and personality in Southern California. Also, as aspiring writer, Michelle can be found exploring SoCal's largest events as well as the more obscure for inspiration. As a biracial, body-positive mummy, Michelle finds creative ways to share her love for Samhain while using her platform to spread knowledge. Call in and out for BIPOC, Latinx, and LGBTQ. Give it up for Michelle Halloween. How are you doing, girl?
I'm great. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm really excited about it. Woo, it's a little hot here.
Yeah. I love everything behind you. It's just so decked out Halloween. I just love it. I love it.
Every day is Halloween.
That's right. Yeah, next up we have Willie May. Has been working in the entertainment industry for over 16 years. Willie performed in over 50 productions, 20 on the creative side, including haunted attractions such as Mind Terrors, Vampire Vic, Haunted Stadium, Hard Rock Halloween, WeHo Halloween, Blumhouse of Horrors, Purge Fear the Night, Rob Zombie, Great American Nightmare, and Hellevator. Give it up for Willie May, everybody.
What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight.
Yeah. This is gonna be an awesome thing, man. Thank you so much for coming out. And last but not least, we have Skye LaFontaine. She was born into a showbiz family in Los Angeles and hit the ground running by the age of 5. She developed a love of all things horror early on and has loved working as a professional scare actor for the last 8 years. You may have seen her pop up at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, Queen Mary's Dark Harbor, and with the immersive theater company Delusion. Give it up.
Hey. Hi, everybody. Super excited for this. This is so cool.
3 amazing individuals. And let me tell you something, guys. Like, normally I have a lot of meetings. We all have meetings, and it's like, oh, well, we're going to just talk for these 30 minutes. Like, literally, all 3 of you amazing people. We just chatted, forgot about time, forgot about everything. We gotta keep time in mind tonight. But it's such an awesome opportunity to have all 3 of you here. So thank you so much for all of you just coming out tonight to talk about this important topic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love it.
Yeah,
appreciate it so much.
Yeah, definitely. So let's hop into this thing. So we're gonna Michelle, let's start with you. Okay. So tell us about your YouTube show. I know Michelle Halloween. I mean, that's such an amazing name. So tell us what intrigues you so much about Halloween, especially as a person of color, because a lot of people don't realize that people of color love Halloween too.
We really do, and I grew up in a city where, it was diverse-ish. There wasn't a lot of white folks, and I was always the oddball out. So I remember one afternoon I was in 4th grade. I have to say I was 4th grade. I was 9 or 10 years old. It was Halloween. I was dressed up in my costume, and I remember I just felt this breeze, flowing through my hair, and it had this warmth to it. It just had this feel, and I was so excited to go out. And, for living in a bubble, my mom knew how to decorate for Halloween. So even where I grew up, being as it was pretty diverse again, but walking down the particular street that my mom would always take us down all the way to this place called Lincoln Park in Pomona, all the houses were decorated, and I'm talking elaborate decoration, stuff that you would see today. And this was the 80s and 90s. So I'm like, I love this. I love the feel. I love the candy. I loved going through. That's when you could go through people's houses.
Yeah.
Like they had these old mansions.
Of
We
course.
could go through the houses and actually pick up candy, and they would scare us. And there was like ghosts flying from trees. And it was just, it's what I looked forward to every single year. So of course there's the candy. And then that particular Halloween, the one that I remember the most, I came home, my mom checked the candy, and I was sucking on one of those sweet tart lollipops watching Michael Myers. Where is he? I'm here.
Yeah, of course.
Watching Michael Myers and watching Halloween. And it spiraled from there. I looked forward to Halloween as a teenager. I can't recall a year I didn't dress up in some sort of capacity, even as an adult. I still dress up as a 40-year-old woman. So I've just loved it my whole life. And, you know, I was the weird one because I liked it too much, you know, but I was raised where, you know, if you were too much of anything, that wasn't Black. Like you can't be too much of something that wasn't in line with, you know, being Black. So of course I was the odd one. So then, you know, as an adult, I kind of put it aside for a little bit because I kept having kids back to back. And, you know, 2014 came along. I went to my first Halloween convention, started going to haunts, and I'm going, oh, you're telling me I could do this all year long? Oh, I'm so about it. So that's where I got started. And I figured, you know, life's too short, especially with, if you think about 2020, life's too short. So just do what you love, despite what anyone else says. And one more thing I'll say about Halloween and, you know, the community, the Halloween and horror community, is you can be weird and Black at the same time. No one cares.
That's true. That's true. That's very true. I mean, here to that. Because that's the thing. It's like, because here's something that's interesting about what you said, Michelle, is about, you know, not being judged by doing something that you love. You know, if you love something, you should be able to express yourself in whatever way possible. So if it's Halloween is your thing, you know, you're a person of color, you shouldn't be like, oh, well, people of color don't do that. They're not interested in that. I mean, it's a love for the art, and anybody has that right to do that. Everyone has that right. You know?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's Skye, let's get to you. So especially having as an actor in California.
Yes.
So
it's a rarity.
Yeah, tell us your backstory as an actor, and especially having a major interest in horror. You know, that's very specific, especially person of color. You know, what is it like for you, you know, portraying roles in horror?
I think like just in general as an actor of color, there was already like growing up. Also, I mean, I grew up in like apologies also if you hear my dogs barking. I would shut them up if I could.
It's all good.
Okay, good. I was like, I don't know how loud they are. But there was already like when I grew up, I already saw so little people who looked like me in like entertainment on the stage, especially in film and TV. And when I discovered horror, which was like an accident because I wasn't supposed to watch it, I snuck it and I watched it with my cousin. And I kept seeing the same thing. I saw all of these like people who looked exactly the same. I didn't see a lot of like diversity. I almost feel like horror is always kind of playing catch up to like the rest of art in general, like everything that's already happened, like diversifying films and theater and colorblind casting and doing all of that sort of thing. Horror is like now playing catch up. And because it's been so long before this actually happened, now everything's being championed. So now it's like, ooh, we have Black directors and ooh, Black leads. But what you would usually see is like, you would see the Black people being like the monsters, the villains, like we're coming out of the dark to get you, or they're the ones that die first, or, you know, you rarely ever see like, they're the ones that make it to the end. They're the ones that persevere, or it's done in like almost like like it's a farce. Like they're the loud, obnoxious, the stereotypical Black person like entity in these films. And I think like I just had this desire to do things differently. I wanted to see if like as a person of color, I could inhabit these spaces that I'd only seen white people inhabit up until more recently. I think now there's like, I feel like now there's so much more opportunity for that, but it took a long time to get there. So diving in and being like, I just want to do this just purely as a performer. It doesn't matter my skin color. Coming into it and realizing that there wasn't a lot of space for that still. There still was like kind of we don't really know how to deal with that. We don't know how to handle somebody who looks like you. We don't know what to do with your skin, with your hair, with your character. I wanted to be able to like find these spaces and these places where like change could happen.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to see, like for example, just piggybacking on what you love. There should be a system in place for you to be able, especially as an actor. You know, I know what I've been this character as well, and having a lot of situations where you run into, you know, like, okay, let's just throw a little bit of blood and that's it, and it's like, okay, a little bit more, you know,
colors and try to get your color right.
You know? And I mean, and that's the thing that's a little frustrating at times, especially as a person of color. You want to be able to get into the story like everyone else, and a lot of times, you know, because you gotta keep in mind, you know, the history of horror. You know, like all the way back to the movie Klansman, you know, where they were like, you know, blackface, the portrayal of black males, and just the way that has just nurtured a culture. To look at people of color just in general. I mean, a lot of that started with, you know, fear mongering. You know, that's all we do in horror. We just find out what's the thing that everyone's afraid of, and we create, you know, media around that. And so interesting, even down to this day, we're still having those same conversations. So yeah, we're gonna get into the checkbox. We're gonna talk about that.
Get on it.
Yeah, and going into you, Will. I mean, you now. Here's the thing about you, brother, is that being a producer. Now, here's the thing, and you can agree to this, you know, that this is like the holy grail. Like, oh, you have the opportunity, you know, to really make the decisions, you know, and creative development. And so, what is it like for you, you know, as a person of color, to have that power over the story in horror, and then still face potential discrimination?
Oh wow, that's a good question. Well, I just want to say that on my journey, it's been. It wasn't the easiest journey. I mean, I had so many no's, so many doors shut in my face, so many what are you doing here type of conversations or looks. And I think what kept me going, kept my passion going, was the fact that I can have my dream and my passion propel me, knowing that there's more to me than the color of my skin. And if I can get through that door, if I can get through that producer, if I can get to that director, and I can get to that bank and get a yes, then I know that there's more to me. There's more that I can, a part that I can play. And the question that you ask is, you know, how do you feel being in that position and still get that kind of like scrutiny or racism or, you know, stereotypical, you know, those jabs, and, you know, it's tough. I remember when I was at a big client event, and I've been doing the event for a very long time, and I was doing what I normally do and bring my team in to produce this amazing show that brings in thousands of people paying hundreds of $100 tickets, $200, $300 tickets, and they have sold out. And I went to this one event producer, co-producer, and I said, "Hey, I'm here." And they just stopped and glared at me and just looked up and was just like, "But you're not the guy who I spoke to, you know. Wow. You sound so proper. You talk like you have sense, but you know what I see does not match what I hear on the phone." And so,
oh my gosh.
And so after that, you know, of course, I dealt with that several times and put on a good, strong face so that it doesn't affect my work. But my staff saw it at one point and said, "We want to commend you and say thank you for fighting, for keep going, for us to be able to have a place for us to perform and to create, because that is not right." And when they said that to me and kind of stopped me from the doings of producing to say, "Hey, I want you to be present with me, and I want to say that we acknowledge this." It's not right. It hit me hard.
Yeah.
And then it made it where I had to keep going. I had to persevere. I had to move to the next project. And I felt like even in the haunted house space, it wasn't just enough. You know, I have to go beyond that and even onto TV and try to produce our, you know, more content for TV. But being in position and building a creative team that can understand multicultural and embrace it is an amazing, amazing position to be in also. So there's a flip side to it. There's also a side where I can meet people like Michelle and Skye and you, RJ, and say, let's create something epic. And let's put something in a room where we can be safe and we can create some amazing topics. Everything is safe here. There's no bad idea. It's just the best idea. And then we can start pulling and digging and challenging one another to propel and push out to that space, and then sit there and release it to everyone and say, was it well done? You know, how we beat ourselves up a little bit? You know, how does the guest receive it? So there's a flip side of it, and so I thank God for the opportunity and just being in that position, and I hope that there's more in the future. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. And here's the thing I want to give to the viewers too. To you that's listening to this conversation, what you're hearing is 3 different perspectives, you know, that are very important. I want you to really narrow in on. You know, it requires a level of maturity to have that conversation, and some people will never achieve that because of the way you think.
Yeah.
So hindering yourself from truth does not equal any opportunity for any of us. And progression is intentional. It's an intentional choice as a community, especially as horror, since we all love the story, right? We all love the story of horror. So it's important for all of us to partake in that and to make it easy for everyone to do that. So if there are issues, you know, you have to be open and honest about what those things are. And to you, let's hop to you, Michelle Halloween. Love that. Now, being a blogger, you're in a position where you're analyzing and so much content that's being developed in horror, from film to television, theme parks. You know, so what is your current take on the representation of all of that from your perspective for people of color in horror?
Well, my perspective would be, I'm looking at my background and I'm looking at history. Let's look at horror films. And I love the way you say horror, because I say horror. But my perspective on it is, if you take a look back in history, especially when it enlightened a lot of young folks. I always say that I was born too early for my time sometimes, because I didn't know about films like Blackula. I didn't know about Sugar Hill when I was a kid. I was struggling just to find out, like, where do I fit in as a mixed girl? You know, just simple black and white. You think it's easy, but it's really hard. But when you're looking at films, you love the horror genre. It took me up until my teens and my early 20s to go, where are all the black folks in all these movies? You know, usually we're killed off right away. It's not funny. We were subjected as the monster. We're portrayed as the monsters. It's just, we weren't making it. But I didn't see films like Sugar Hill, even like Serpent in the Rainbow. There just wasn't a lot of representation, and I don't think it's horror, but The Craft was one of the movies that made me start thinking, okay, well, let's look at Rachel True. She's actually experiencing racism, you know, in the film, and that role wasn't even written for that, you know, for her to be a black girl, kind of like George Romero and I'm sorry, I always forget his name. Dwayne Johns, some cinephile I am. But look at the roles that they were playing, and they weren't even intended to play those roles. So I'm looking at this, and I'm a questioner. I used to get in trouble a lot for questioning. I still get in trouble for questioning everything. And this is why I decided to start writing, is I'm going, well, why are the black people dying? This isn't fair. So I'd get perspectives from, you know, people that I would work with, and people that did like horror movies. You know, I spent a lot of time around, you know, a lot of diverse people when I actually used to have a real job, if you call it a real job. But it was always different. I always get different perspectives. So it's kind of like I had to make up my own mind. So then when, you know, the early 2000s started happening, and I was able to start going to these horror conventions and starting to go to the movies more and going back and, you know, examining my favorite films, you know, kind of like Skye was saying, we didn't see people like us in a good way. But then we started seeing things progress a little bit. And it's always been there. The good roles have been there, but they just took a long time. So, you know, when horror noir came out, it was just a gift. Get Out was a gift because you're looking at what Black folks fear. And I just thought, okay, this is perfect because I haven't experienced, police brutality. I haven't experienced things like, where I didn't see any of that shit in my, I didn't see any of that personally,
Right.
Which I'm grateful for, but that just goes to show where my privilege lies too.
Mm.
And, I chose a privileged life, to be honest with you, but it's a matter of now that I decided, okay, I'm going to put myself out there. I want to make sure that everyone is represented, excuse me, in the Halloween and horror industry that I'm involved in. That's why I share so much. That's why I'm so random. That's why everyone that, that I interview on my silly little podcast and, blog about all have something to bring to the horror and Halloween community. And, going forward from this point, I was asked recently, like, what is your brand? Well, I don't have a brand. And if I am forced to say I have a brand, it's going to be, well, I am a biracial woman who loves Halloween, who loves horror movies. And because I am a privileged person, I'm going to start fulfilling my duty as a privileged person to uplift those in the horror and Halloween community who are people of color, who are queer, who are, just not white. And it's no offense to, my white folks. I love you so much. I really do. But it's now I feel like it's more important for me as, a blogger and aspiring writer, especially when I start putting out my written works, that everyone is included. But especially Black folks, because I feel like we are still we're not represented enough in the Halloween and horror community. Just from my observations. We need more.
Exactly. We definitely need more. And the thing is, and that's the thing, as a community, as a culture, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, we all want the same thing, for this. We want to be able to tell stories and scare the crap out of people. That's the whole idea. And that gives everyone joy. Absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, that's the main point that we all want. And so it's almost like we got to put all those small little tinkly things to the side and just really focus on the major thing. And that's, we're all storytellers, and we all want to be able to show that through our skill sets. And so, I mean, that's right on point. Which kind of ties into you, Skye, being on the ground, in these experiences, you kind of run into the diversity hiring checkbox.
Oh yeah.
and it's like, so tell me, as a person of color, when you're in that situation, because how there's especially after this whole situation, George Floyd, there's a lot of awareness, saying, oh well, we want more people of color to do this, to do that, and it's good like that, and that's good, but there also has to be some organic feel to it, knowing that not all people of color has had the same journeys and had the same opportunities, and so it's not necessarily about checking a box. So tell me what's your take on that?
It's very interesting. The thing I am worried about, like now, especially, is like that it's going to be like we're trophies. It's like, well, look, we have Black people. Look at this. They're everywhere. That's like my concern moving forward, because before I'm like, but where were we? But we were always here. There was never an issue. We were always like here and ready, but the opportunities weren't. So all of a sudden now, like if everything's coming out, it's like, this should have been the option beforehand. It shouldn't have taken this for people to be like, here are the opportunities that we should have presented to you before. But up until now, there always has been that kind of issue, especially, I think Michelle gets it too. She was saying it, like being biracial, there's always like that you're not white enough or you're not Black enough, but I'm right in the middle. So I can still check that box of like, we have somebody of color, but we can pass them off as something else. So I'll often be slapped in like straight haired wigs. I'll be lightened up, or I will be given a mask that's for a white person and then given like, colored, like my hands that they're lighter. I feel like, I don't know if whiteface is a thing, but like, I feel like that's kind of what it is, because I'm just passable enough where they can like play it off as like, she's just tan. It's fine. She's not that dark. Whereas I've seen my darker counterparts get like kind of relegated to like the shadows, like where they're just popping out for a second and then they disappear. And then you'll see like, or they're given, these masks or these colors that make them look so dead, you know, like they don't have anything that matches their skin tone. They don't have anything that works for their hair. So they just look uncomfortable. They just look like they're just there to check a box. They're not there to actually be a part of whatever the event is.
Right.
It's like this person was just brought in because we need to make sure that that's there. And it even goes as high as like management or people who are above us. You never see people who are scare actors elevated to those statuses unless they're really advocating for it. But if they are, it's usually just someone that they bring in to say, we have a diversity hire who's, you know, who's in a management position. So nobody can fault us and say, we don't have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the thing too, especially as being a writer, you know, we really can control the story. You can control how the casting is, you know, the choices, you know, and so it really has to be a decision, especially in the creative development teams, you know, to really not allow this to get out of hand, to really let it be about the characters and not necessarily, you know, almost being almost too specific to the point where it's almost like, oh my gosh, like I have to be like, I know there's some characters I've worked with where it's like, oh, well, we need a person of color, but you need to be darker. You need to be a lot darker, or you have to be a lot lighter to do this one. And so it's kind of like, you know, going into those realms, it really becomes, you know, a little bit of colorism and a little bit of, you know, all those things that just kind of hinders the progression of it. And so I think as creators, we need to really pay attention to how that is perceived and how that impacts emotionally how you're able to fulfill those roles, you know. And so that's so important. And so that kind of ties into you, Will, you know, as a creator, you know, having that pen and starting off those ideas, what are some tips that you can give to someone pursuing the same dream or currently creating haunts, creating, you know, those, what can they do to bring more awareness to the issues and really be balanced in their choices creatively?
I think finding or just creating good content that is very inclusive and just it gives light to other skin colors, skin tones, giving them a place to exist is beneficial. I think finding ways if you're going to be in a position where you can bridge that gap, bridge it, you know, and let people know that, hey, look, we're here. You know, to see a young person in haunt auditioning gets me excited. A young Black person in haunt, I'm like, yo, like, what's up? Like, look, you know, look what we're gonna do. You know, I get so excited because it brings me back to when I was there. Just looking around, seeing, you know, if there's anyone like me or I can be friends with, you know, and so. To bridge that gap and to create more creators in the space. If you're a writer and you're just writing in your basement or in your room or in your mama's house, I dare you to publish it. I dare you to go out and do something with your craft. I dare you, I challenge you to do something and get around people that you want, that you aspire to be. And say, hey, hi, I'm here, you know, hang out with them, you know, buy them a $5 gift card to Amazon for coffee or whatever, and just say, hey, I just want to pick your brain. But don't stand there and just do anything, like do something. You know, the creator, someone who is creative has to create. It is a must, it's in their DNA, right? Right. We're all creators. Whether it's acting or writing or producing, you know, designing, and I want to just give permission to the creators out there to say, hey, just do something. Don't silence yourself. Don't keep it in a little book, a little folder, and just put it back on your shelf. I dare you just to write it in a blog and just publish it, hit publish, and see what happens. You know, I think the process of releasing the creative or releasing the gift is already nerve-wracking because you have to be vulnerable to criticism or critiques or whatever. But that's okay. Those when you get those tough critics, you know, it's how you deal with it. Rather it's, you know, rejection or just, you know, or filtering out the negative and really finding tune what they're trying to say, or surrounding yourself with people that can help you filter to what they're trying to tell you. But to understand when to turn off when it's a troll and when to turn on when someone's really trying to give you some advice of your craft and learn from it. It's okay. We have to be vulnerable. But in the process of being vulnerable and releasing, there's magic. And in that magic, there's my haunt. My haunt is up, and there's thousands of people lined up to come see it. And I'm scared. I'm trembling. I'm looking at my actors. I'm like, you got this? And their makeup is sweating. They're like, yeah. But you know what? Deep down inside, we know we're going to get through this. You know what I'm trying to say? And it is so important that we as creators just create and get out there more, especially with color. Get out there, get with somebody and say, hey, get with a theater company that is coming back from the pandemic and say, hey, I have something. I have a one-man play. I have a monologues or, something, and just put it out there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is so
question. I'm going around. I'm doing my own thing, but it's okay. I beat my own drum like some people. So.
Yeah, I mean, so you're absolutely on point. It's about just jumping out there, right? We all have something that we want to achieve in life. And like for me, I was just like, I started as a musician, went to school for music, minored in fashion design. I was a gumbo of things, but I love story and I love telling stories. And so kind of connecting those things. And not only that, like not allowing the naysayers and the people that gave the bad energy, didn't even help me make sense of it all. And I didn't even know I was even capable of creating, amazing stuff like I've done for major theme parks now, major cruise lines. It's just really is astounding. And it all started with, just me giving myself a chance to say, hey, like I can do this thing.
Right.
I can really achieve things and grow and build opportunities. Like my company, the UpBeat Imagination Workshop, we have over 12 different stage plays, 50 original characters. And that was all done, in my hometown of Savannah, Georgia, when I wasn't getting opportunities, when we weren't knocking, when our phone wasn't ringing, you literally had to jump out there. And he looked up and it was like busloads of kids were coming. But I was a vendor with the Board of Education and touring the nation. It was almost like a Sesame Street Live kind of experience, with puppets and characters. And that was way before I got into major opportunities with companies, And so it's really important to, if you don't get empowered, to empower yourself and believe that you have the capacity to do great things. And so as people of color, it's good for them to have, representation, to see, us having these conversations, because now they feel empowered to say, you know what, if I want to get that blog up, I can look at Michelle Halloween and be like, hey, yo, and she did it, I can do it. If you see Skye like out there, working with Delusion and all these amazing, companies, like, yo, I can do that too. You know what I'm saying? And so like for example, like let's hop into a little bit with Delusion. Like tell us what it was like working with such a groundbreaking project, because it had a mixture of VR and just all this cool stuff. Like tell us about what
I am so fortunate that I literally found it on Backstage, and I didn't know anything about it. My next door neighbors apparently have been going like since it started, and I knew nothing about it. I had only come from these haunts where it was like, you pop out for like 5 seconds, go back in, repeat it every like 5 seconds. And that was it. There's no character. There's no story. There's no interaction with like anybody. It's just like, hey, I'm here. Goodbye kind of a thing. And I was so used to that way of interacting with the haunt community, because I was like, this is just what the experience is. And then joining a company where it was a community. Everybody who's involved has a voice and has something to say. And the stories that are being told are so interactive in so many ways now, especially adding VR to these experiences. They're so personal, and everybody has a different take on like what happened and what they took away from it. And being able to come into that and actually feel like my voice was actually heard and also necessary, and that I could ask questions and say, hey, this is how I think, and this is what I feel, and this is like how I think this character should go. What do you think? And be able to have a discussion about it instead of being told, stand over there and go every 5 seconds or so. Like, hopefully you scare some people. This was like, there's a story to be told. And that, all of us were like, storytelling is so important, and having the opportunity to actually be a part of a story and then get to like tell it over and over in different ways every single night. Cause you're still repeating the same thing, but we're doing like 15 to like 25 shows a night, but every single one is entirely new. There's never like repetition. There's never the same experience. And I thought that was just like for me, it was such a groundbreaking experience. It was like doing a live horror movie 25 times a night. And I was like, I could do this forever. This is great.
Exactly. Yeah. And in talking about let's get to you, Michelle. Kind of piggybacking on story, right? What's your take on cultural appropriation? What's okay?
That's annoying.
Or what's okay or not? Because that tends to be a thing that a lot of people deal with in Halloween.
Oh yeah, so I took notes on this because I listed a bunch of experiences and conversations that I've had about cultural appropriation because I have a lot of arguments and I have a lot of conversations. So it was very important. I decided a couple of years ago, I was going to start working for Spirit Halloween as a bucket list.
Nice.
Just because I wanted to go, I love going to those stores. I love spending money at those stores. So I figured I should just work there. So 2018, I decided I'm going to work with Spirit Halloween. I had a great team of people. I got promoted to manager after 3 days. It was great. But, so I spent a lot of time in the store walking around, looking at costumes. So what I noticed was a lot of there's a whole section, and I love Spirit. I'm not knocking anything. Well, maybe I am. But there's a whole section where there's like supposed to be funny costumes, right? So I'm looking, and my inquisitive mind goes, check that out. There's a Sancho costume. There's a poncho, a sombrero, mustaches. There's a whole section for rapper, if you want to be a rapper, with the fake gold change, and then money if you want to be a pimp. And then there was a whole section for, Native Americans, where you could be a sexy Pocahontas. You could be this. I'm going, ugh, I don't like it. So I've had the conversations. In fact, and then I learned, this is part of cultural appropriation. People usually talk about, well, it's very sensitive. Most people focus on making sure, some people don't, on making sure that when they decide they're going to dress up as a person of color, a Black person, they're careful. And this is just people that I'm involved with, except for that one time, RJ, we talked about this before, that I was working for that major company, and I was part of the comparable to the Black Student Union, as you would call it. And this white lady came in on Halloween, and she was dressed as Aunt Jemima. She came in with a big butt, and she came in with her face painted black, white woman. She had on the turban, and she made her boobs bigger, and we had a fit. We were instant messaging, and we were like, all right. So we let the organization first handle it. We brought it to management. They sent her home. They wrote her up. She came to work, apologizing the next day, but it's a matter, you have to explain that you cannot blackface anything when you're a white person or any person. You can't do that. So then I got years later, I got questioned with, well, is it okay if my white kid dresses up as T'Challa? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course. Absolutely. Just don't paint your kid's face black. And the example, I didn't have to explain any further, which I was really grateful for, because I'm like, I'm going to get heated right now. I shouldn't have to be talking about this in 2018. But what really upset me was that, they could dress up as T'Challa. And I used to see walking around Disneyland, little, white girls dressed as Tiana. And I'm like, that's perfectly fine. It's just don't paint your face black. It's that simple. And if you want to know why, just take a look back at history. Look at the Halloween decorations, those vintage Halloween decorations. I looked it up, RJ, after our conversation. That particular black face mask or, paper mache image goes for $478 right now on eBay. That's not okay. That shouldn't even be sold, So I'm going to pick a fight with someone on that. So then I get, okay, well, let's talk about the Black Little Mermaid. So we were all excited when Disney announced that they were going to have Hailey Bailey as, Ariel. I can't think of anyone better to play her. She's beautiful. She could sing. What's the problem? Well, white folks had a problem because they started saying, well, that's cultural appropriation. It really isn't. It's a fictional cartoon character. It's a character. that's not even real and wasn't written, well, I hope it wasn't written for a white person. And I think it's funny today because I was discussing it with my oldest son, and he didn't know about Haley Bailey being, cast as the Little Mermaid, as Ariel. And he said, "Oh, I don't care. She's hot. They just better make her hair red." He's a redhead. So, it's just things like that are just, you just want to be mindful. Another example of just making sure that when you're enjoying, dressing up for costumes, whether it's for, a college party or a party at your house, all year long, just be mindful of where your costume is derived from. Yes, you could paint your face green. Yes, you can wear, I was a vampire one year. And I made the mistake, and I regret it now because it was stupid, and it broke my face out. It was like, Skye, you were saying we're lighter, we're lighter. So I was like, well, let me just be whiter, and I'll dress up as a real pale dead vampire. It didn't look good. And then on top of somebody was like, oh, you look just like your mom. And I'm like, oh, okay, my mom's a vampire. Okay.
Oh my God.
So, I was just thinking, why did I feel it necessary to paint myself white as a vampire? There's black vampires,
Yeah.
So, it's crazy out there. But I do, I was talking to you, RJ, about that episode of Blackish when the whole Johnson family, every year they dress up as a family unit. They work together and they go out. But I brought it up that when they came out as the Incredibles, you didn't see the Johnson family painting themselves white, and I don't want to say it's tit for tat or anything like that, but Black people just know, let's just wear what we wear. We don't have to change the color of our skin. We're already feared, we're not going to make it even worse. But on Halloween, it all, you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Exactly.
it's just a matter of just being mindful. And if people are watching right now and they don't know, what's acceptable or what's not, and I really do hope that Spirit takes a look at what they sell. Even Target, all these places sell costumes that, while it's not, African dashikis or anything, but there are other, cultural misappropriated costumes. So it's just a matter of, be mindful, folks. Be mindful, please.
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome information. Yeah, and I mean, it's so important to pay attention to culture and interpretation. It's about the character. It's not about the skin tone and all those different things. I mean, just if you love the character, just wear the costume. It's okay. You just wear the costume. Focus on the costume. Here's a good question. I'm going from D. Thomas said, what are some steps a Halloween event can take to limit costumes from patrons that are inappropriate? Let's give that one to Will. What do you think, bro?
Well, hi D, thanks for that question. It really depends on the culture of the event. Number one, I've done so many events, and like one event that I've done was like 21 and up, and one lady who was very busty came in, and she just had censored, and then on her butt censored, and then her front censored, and they allowed her to come into the party. So. But it's really depending on the culture of that event, number one. Number two, if they are inappropriate and that costume is offensive, I will then walk up to that guest and say, hey, I need you to change or take off that outfit. Is there anything that you have in your car before I let you back in? And that's just it. There's no, I think Halloween Horror Nights, or is it, and Not Scary Farm does not allow people in with costumes, but there's some haunted attractions that allow people in with costumes, and I would say no for their safety. And number two, if it's offensive, then just tell them to change.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really much paying attention to what are the requirements for that, and making sure it doesn't hinder the story nor the environment. Since there's so many different types of people that are there, and plus you don't want to. You want like booty cheeks to get in the way of like having a good time. Like don't do all that. Just come out there and just have a good time. Okay. So we're running down to the wire. Let's take some group things here. Tanana Reeve-Dew, she's a screenwriter and UCLA professor in a documentary horror noir. Said Black history is Black horror. So, as a group, has horror films and content influenced the way people of color are perceived?
Ooh,
Oh, that's a good one.
weighted one.
I may just go for it. It's man, I think if you look at the origins of horror films, it started with Bram Stoker's Dracula or Nosferatu, the silent films, which weren't even filmed in America. And then you just look throughout history. I have to say, I have to go back to what Skye was saying. We were always there. We weren't represented the way we should have been. It's like, hello, we were here now. We were there. We were here then. So hello, Jordan Peele comes out. It is definitely a different generation. I hate saying that, but it is it's different. I was watching Scary Movie or Haunted House, one of those two the other day. And I'm thinking, again, my inquisitive mind that just goes down these list of things. I'm thinking, what prompted the Marlon Wayans to decide, hey, I'm gonna do this, spoof horror movie, and it's hilarious, but it's also scary, which tells me that they were watching the horror movies that we were watching, but they decided, let's do what Black folks do best. We take what we have and we make it awesome. We make our own thing. So I think it's been around for a really long time. I don't know. It's a weighted question. I don't think I can answer it.
Yeah.
It's a rough one.
It really is. And I mean, that's the thing is that it's trying to weed out where the issue started, you know, and that's what you want to do as creators, is to be able to knock it at the door, to say, hey, this is what happened before, and we've seen the outcome of that. Let's make some changes now. But it really has been a major influence. And we have to be honest about that and know that, this is the beginning of a new culture that we're trying to develop. Not to mess up, the essence of horror and make everything so, oh gosh, it has to be bubbles and ice cream now because we really can't do anything, And it's like you can scare people, you can scare the crap out of people and still not offend people,
Right. Correct.
You can still scare people.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to go that route. And so that's why I really want, people to understand that as storytellers, we hold the key to all of this, and we can define what's next. We're innovators. We all are, and so I know we were coming down to the last bit, and we can talk about this for another 2 hours. Oh my God.
I'll come home.
Yeah, but we're gonna go around. Let's go around and let's have some thoughts. What are some things that we would like to see in horror creative development to pursue more diversity and inclusion? Let's start with the acting perspective. What are some things you want to see, Skye, to pursue more diversity and inclusion in our field?
I think it's going to come from the people who, I think when you build up, when you start as a performer, when you start at the ground level and you understand what that takes, then going into production, going into being a producer, being a director, being any of those things, it takes on a completely different meaning. I think they just bring people in because, again, they want to just check the box and say they're here. But those people have no idea what our actual experience is. And so moving forward, they don't know how to make any changes. They're not going to be the ones advocating for us and saying, hey, this is what they need, because they haven't experienced it personally. And I think it comes down to personal experience for everybody. It's if you've been through it, you know what it is that you need. And so you can advocate for that for others.
That's true. Same question for you, Will.
I would say in casting, cast with talent. Look at talent. Look at them as assets and not as just, oh, I don't know what to do with them. Because they don't fit that costume, or they don't fit that makeup color that I have. Buy another palette from Ben Nye. Also, with from the creative aspect, create. We need more people of color in the producing realm, in the writing realm. Please get out there, create, put it out there to the universe. Let's see what God has in store for you. And then you guys, I just want to thank all the pioneers that were before me to allow me to be here. I want to say thank you to Jordan Peele. I want to say thank you to RJ. I want to say thank you to David for Midsummer Screams. I want to say thank you to all the Black creatives out there that's just is representing and know that they have a responsibility to represent. Thank you.
That's awesome. And last but not least, Miss Halloween with same question.
Thank you, Willie, because you took a lot of what I was going to actually say. It's perfect. Earlier you were saying, let's just make sure that if you're a creative and if you want to write and you're just sitting in your basement, a lot of us are just sitting here right now. Start writing, start publishing. You can self-publish yourself. I put myself out there after the very last Midsummer Scream last year. It was a magical weekend that I was just like, I want to be a part of this all the time and I'm going to share this. I'm an example of just do it. I wasn't doing anything. I don't have a lot of, experience. I just put myself out there and let, the universe guide me, my intuition guide me. What I do want to say that I want to see more of, is I'm not looking for anything other than just, give me a chance, read what I have. I love constructive criticism, but for other people out there that are looking to, expand their horizons and be more creative, start with, first of all, if you're an influencer or if you're a personality that has a simple platform of posting anything, if you have a platform, use it to highlight people of color in your community. There are Black goths out there. There are people of color that create beautiful, there's a lady out there who makes eyelashes. Highlight those businesses. Use your platform to spread awareness and share the creativity that other, people of color are sharing. I'm one of them. I also have to say that just listen and just give us a chance. Especially the younger generation, you guys have it made with all the resources that you have available to you. So just put yourself out there. We want you. We want to see you out there. If you have something to, you want me to highlight, hit me up. I would love to share it. And I too want to, express my gratitude for, RJ for taking the time and Midsummer Scream, because, if it weren't for, Midsummer Scream, I wouldn't be sitting right here right now. It's a dream come true of mine. I set my stuff really high. And, I didn't think a year ago today that I would be doing anything with Midsummer Scream. I wanted to. And here I am, and it's for a better cause than what I ever could have imagined. So thank you for the opportunity, and see how that works. You just put yourself out there. So I encourage you to do it. And the weirder you are, the better, that's how we create. So
Exactly. It truly is a pleasure to have all three of you here and just to have this conversation. And I know there's a couple of questions that came in about race related issues and themed entertainment. The main point I would leave with all of you is that nothing works effectively without a tune-up. Okay, that includes the way that we treat each other and the way that we treat this industry. So if you really want things to change, and here's the thing, a lot of people know where the issues lie. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it is really about being honest about where those issues are and make an initiative to change it. And so if you want to be able to talk more about this, reach out, look up Michelle Halloween on Instagram, Facebook, give us a quickly around, tell us how we can follow you on Facebook and Instagram.
I'm easy. Michelle Halloween on all platforms. You can find me anywhere. So.
All right. And Skye, what about you?
Willie May Now, WILLIEMAYNOW. Willie May Now.
All right. Will. Okay. And Skye?
I'm at Skye Danielle everywhere. So SKYEDONIELLE.
Yes, definitely. Awesome. You guys can follow me. I'm at Gadget Temple and also at Creative Quest Foundation. Thank you so much. Midsummer Scream. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Such an amazing event. And thanks, Dave and the Midsummer team, for bringing this on and making this happen. We really appreciate you for everything that you've done for us. And I mean, once again, everybody, Michelle Halloween, Skye LaFontaine, and Willie May, thank y'all so much for such an awesome time tonight. This was truly remarkable, and we will do this again.
Yeah.
Creating a smile, getting lost in the moment, and living the dream is what themed entertainment is all about. And here in Central Florida, we are the entertainment capital of the world, able to live that dream each and every day. A living celebration filled with artists, managers, engineers, and talent from across the globe. Diversity and inclusion for all walks of life, creating, building, learning, and growing together is the key to a bright future for the entertainment industry. The Creative Quest Foundation focuses on guiding minorities interested in pursuing a career in themed entertainment, providing a path to success with workshops, events, mixers, and more that will be life-changing and uplifting, while at the same time giving back to those in need. The Creative Quest Foundation, celebrating the power of diversity in the world of make-believe.